Taoiseach, people out there will want to know what's so impressive about Brendan McDonagh's CV that he's worth almost €500,000 a year to be the so-called housing tsar. They'll be outraged then when they find out that his qualification is not experience in addressing the housing crisis, but instead in causing it. He has been CEO of NAMA since 2009 when he was appointed by Brian Lenihan. NAMA took on loans on land and property originally valued at €88 billion. That gave the state control of almost all development land suitable for housing. Over the next 16 years, Brendan McDonagh flogged it all off for less than half the price. 90% of it went to US vulture funds who sold it back to the same developers who took out the bad loans in the first place for far less than they originally owed. An absolute scam which cost the people €34 billion and has left vulture funds and property developers hoarding all of the housing and development land that we need to solve the housing crisis. How on earth can you appoint Brendan McDonagh to solve a crisis that he created?
Thank you.
That this government and the outgoing government built more social houses than had been built since the 1970s in the last 4 years. That's a fact. Up to 48,000 social houses built. Right? Nothing compares with that in the previous 15 or 20 years. And look, you just keep on shouting, Deputy. You keep coming forward with facile, superficial analysis of the housing crisis. You set yourself up as a housing expert. You're nothing of the sort. Okay, you're not. And so I'd appreciate now if you just allow other people to give their perspective. And the only reason I raised my eyes, I thought it was wrong of you to personalise it and demonise an individual who can't defend themselves in this House, and to make the assertions you've made about someone who hasn't been nominated to any position by government. No decision has been taken, but you choose to take a cheap shot at an individual, blaming that person for all the evictions that have happened in the last 10 or 15 years. That was wrong. That's all I'm saying. And I don't think that's good enough either. And we're all entitled to have different perspectives on the housing problem, but let's not demonise individuals for the sake of a cheap political score. And I want to make the point is this, that we have built close. It's the same nonsense. We've built, sorry?
Deputy, you've had your question. Continue.
You've set yourself up.
Also an academic in the news.
And you're entitled to be.
Nothing of the sort of housing expert.
I didn't say you.
You're out of order, Deputy. Taoiseach, just continue.
You're not a construction housing expert. You never have been. You're a social. You lecture in social. Well, you lecture in social policy, and I believe you're a good lecturer in social policy. That doesn't make you a housing, but that doesn't make you a housing expert, Deputy.
No, sorry.
It was good for the electoral pathway.
Taoiseach, I'd ask you to please observe the rules of the House and allow the Taoiseach to answer the questions that he has been asked. You've had your opportunity.
If I could say that in terms of social housing, there has been a very significant step change made. Last year, over 10,000 social houses delivered, over 48,000 social houses added to the social housing stock since 2020. Now we need to do more, and we need to build more social houses. And the tenants in situ scheme only came in 2023, and all the deputies have correctly raised that. There was no tenant in situ scheme before 2023, none. And substantial progress was made in respect of it. Over about 1,000 of those in 2023. About 1,800 social homes were acquired in 2023. And 1,000 of those were for properties where tenants received a notice of termination. Again in 2024, over 1,000 were received in respect of a notice of termination that we bought under tenant in situ. And 325 million has been applied this year to local authorities. Now, there was an issue in terms of how there's a sense in an examination of the application of tenant in situ across the country that it wasn't all being used for those for whom it was designed, i.e. people in immediate need or potential people going into homelessness because of the ending of or termination of a tenancy. And there was some evidence that it has incentivised acquisitions, second-hand acquisitions, more broadly than was intended. And so the scheme has been refined with a view to trying to get the local authorities to focus very specifically on those in immediate need of homelessness, not as a way out maybe for some landlords to sell their houses expeditiously to a local authority. And we have to get the balance right in terms of new builds and acquisitions as well, because we had other deputies earlier in the day referencing, for example, the fact that in one city, in Limerick apparently, that approved housing bodies were purchasing 60% of their stock as opposed to new builds. Now, the balance has to be got right in that respect.
Okay, thanks. We're now